And I'm so glad that you could join us today. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Jade. It's great to sit and talk with you, especially about this subject. There's some important things happening around the city.
Well, you'll be the first to inform us because you just got out of a meeting, fresh off the presses.
Long meeting.
A long meeting. Well, that's how the good work gets done, I would imagine. So thank you for your endurance in that space. Tell me how things went today.
Well, everything went well today. We were looking at the Close the Workhouse bill. That was the big thing that was up on the agenda today.
Yes.
We perfected it, so next week we'll come back in third read and finally pass it. And you think about it, we've been working on that issue for years, right? But the thing that really has helped across the last few years is the Close the Workhouse, campaign. They have done a tremendous job of just keeping the word out there and helping us to, keep focused on, changing the dynamics of what was happening in the workhouse.
Sure. What difference do you feel like it'll make now that you're at the point of closure?
Well, it's been incremental year over year because back when we started this, the budgets were $16 million in excess of $16 million we were spending on the workhouse. We had hundreds of detainees at the workhouse. And through the years, through changing of ordinances so that we made certain things municipal violations, right, and reduced the fines, worked with the courts so that we have speedier trials and all of those sorts of things. We were able to lower the budget to $8 million this year. So we went from $16 million down to $8 million over time, and hundreds of detainees down to 96 detainees. But all of that work we've been able to get done over that time. I have to be just so thankful for the people who continue to bring the issue front and center, right?
The issue didn't change, but the persistence, what do you feel like actually pushed it through this time? What took you over the finish line?
I think it was all of those things. We're in a much different place now because over time, because of all the awareness, we were able to lower the number of detainees at the site to the point now where we only have 96 detainees there. Yeah. We're spending $8 million for 96 detainees there, right? And the building would house, over 1,100 people. Right, so we have a mass amount of space, staffing, and everything else for a small amount of detainees. And what we've done now is to put in place a process where a plan would be required to be produced by the Commissioner of Corrections, and the Commissioner of Corrections would lay out a plan to assure that we do it in a safe manner, in a manner that allows us to adhere to our state and federal guidelines, right, for housing of inmates, right, and one that creates a system that works for the community and also the people who are being detained.
Fantastic. It sounds strategic that by reducing the population, you were able to better justify closing, yes, as well as the need no longer being as essential for the staff and the facility as well as the budget. Where will the money go now once you close the facility? It sounds like it's not just a transfer of the occupants of the population, and it also sounds like what will you do with the space?
Well, oddly enough, just by introducing the bill, a number of people have reached out already and said, I have a great idea for the space. And, I add this, organizations with funds and resources to actually do something with the space. We've been able to, we've gotten some responses back from people like that, unsolicited responses. So
will there be a formal bid at some point?
I would imagine that ultimately there will be a formal bidding process for, either nonprofits or for-profit entities who would be able to use the space in a way that benefits the residents of the city of St. Louis, and also can help us, meet some of the goals that we need to meet as a city, and give us some of the resources to meet those goals. But what is important for people to understand is this isn't just pulling the plug and open the gates and tell everybody, oh, you're free to go. Right.
Right.
That is not what this is. This is this board bill that we introduced requires a very deliberate and methodical process, and a very detailed plan to be produced by the Commissioner of Corrections to ultimately result in the closure of the workhouse, and allow us to direct those dollars to a couple of different funds.
Mm-hmm.
We would create a fund that helps with reentry, right? A reentry program, and a fund that fund would also help, with everything from counseling services to job placement, all sorts of things, so that we don't see people reoffending, right? We also have a neighborhood reinvestment program, so that we can address some of the core issues that are happening within neighborhoods that result in higher crime rates in some of our neighborhoods around town, right? So the funds that were just used just to detain people now are going to be put to practice to try to get out in front and ahead of the crime problems in our city.